Chapter 15. Shelby.
One night, I was sitting in camp feeling low because of the lack of progress I had made. I looked up and saw Enoch. He was standing at the edge of camp, which was strange. Most times, he just walked in. But as I looked at him, something was different. He wasn't alone. He had someone with him. "Come on in. You want to eat?" He stood there and kept looking at the fire, then back at me. I took some water and poured it on the fire, then took a spade and threw dirt on it so it wouldn't smoke. By the time I got it buried, my eyes became used to the dark, and with the almost full moon, I could see well. I stepped back and gave him room. He came in first, followed by a female, and behind her was the cutest little girl, Skunk Ape. I looked at him, then at Enoch and said, "My friend, you've been holding out on me. Is this your family?" He was chattering. I think he was proud of him. We all stood there looking at each other, and then I said, "You want to eat?" I got some apples and gave them to him. He gave each of them one and took one himself. I was excited. I couldn't believe what was happening. It was all I could do to control myself. I got some bread, fruit, and shelled walnuts and put it all down on the ground in a box and stepped away. He took the box and they sat down in the middle of camp and had a feast. The little one was so cute, I couldn't take my eyes off her. She hid behind her mom and peeked around her at me. I'm not good at guessing their age, but I would say she was 4 to 6 years old. As long as they ate, I brought them more. I would reach over Enoch to put it down, to not scare him. And when they'd had their fill, they got up and walked away. I was so excited I couldn't sleep that night. The big guy had a family. That lucky dog, it works for everyone but me. Over the next few days, he started bringing them around in the daytime just before sundown. They'd come into camp and eat, then leave. They were getting used to me, and the little one got to where she wasn't afraid at all. She'd come up to me and take food from my hand. I called her Shelby, and she seemed to respond to it. The other female was a little smaller than Enoch, but not by much. She carried herself with an air of confidence. She acted almost stuck up. I would look at her, and she had the kindest eyes, full of love. She had gentleness in her eyes that made you feel at ease around her, a very non-threatening, sweet soul. I was looking at her one day, and I thought, she reminds me of someone. But who? Then it hit me. Cora Beth Gossey from the Waltons. She acts just like her. I named her Cora Beth. One evening, as they were just getting ready to leave, I stopped them and gave them all a Hershey bar. Enoch loved them, but his family had never had one before and were not quite sure what to make of it. The first time I gave Enoch one, it was before we were friends. I left it on a log where he'd find it, he sniffed it, then licked it, then put it in his mouth. He loved it so much that he started rocking back and forth. He looked like Jerry Lee Lewis rocking out. Enoch put the whole thing in his mouth and chewed and smacked his lips. Cora Beth took a bite and almost smiled. You could see it in her eyes. Shelby, she took a bite and started jumping up and down, but her feet never left the ground. It was the cutest thing. It made her happy, and all the hell I went through was worth it just to see that. As they walked away, I called to her. "Shelby, come here, baby girl." I held out a Hershey bar, and she came running to get it. She took it and ran back to her mom, looking over her shoulder as they walked away. After that, I gave up on trying to be friends with the rest of them. We agreed to live and let live and respected each other's space. The wood throwing stopped. You've asked me time and time again if they share things with me or leave gifts. I told you no because I was already telling you more than I'd wanted to. But if the truth be known, I'd have to say yes, they did. In fact, it got to be a problem. Enoch would bring me things once in a while, like the pig he tossed by the fire, or a swamp cabbage, or a duck, or whatever he had killed that day, and that was fine. I'd cook it, we'd share it, and it was never a problem. But after a couple of weeks at the rendezvous, I'd leave camp and go off to do whatever. And when I got back, there'd be a dead rabbit or a chunk of deer meat or a swamp cabbage. One time, I found a dead turtle sitting on the ground, the bottom shell torn away. It looked like a big bloody oyster on the half shell, covered with flies. Oh, yeah, I really wanted to just dive in and chow down, pass the ketchup. Whenever one of them would come back from hunting, he'd drop something off at my camp for me. I had to find a way to get rid of these things. After all, it'd be rude for me just to throw it out where they could see it, and I didn't want it to piss them off. I was walking a very thin line, and I wanted to be accepted as one of them. I didn't want to seem ungrateful. But most of all, it would be wrong of me to let the animals who gave their lives so others could live be wasted. It's a skunk ape thing. Take only what you need to survive and be thankful for it. So I became a skunk ape cook. Yes, that's right. I'd take the food they'd bring by and cook it, and then I'd take it to the clearing. Stopping at the edge of the clearing, most of the time it was after dark. I'd make my call, let them know I was there. Then I'd walk out into the clearing and set the food on the ground and squat down and eat some. Sometimes Shelby would come to me and I'd share it with her. Then I'd reach out and touch her cheek and say, I gotta go, baby girl. By now, I'd be surrounded by them. It was really intense, but in a good way. They always left me an opening to walk away when I was ready. Shelby would follow me to the edge of the clearing, holding my arm, talking up a storm. Then Mom would call, and she'd take off running back across the clearing. As I'd walk back to camp, two or more would follow me. And when I got into camp, one would whistle, and I'd see him vanish into the darkness. It was almost like they were making sure I made it back okay, because as soon as I got there, they left. I never felt like I was in danger. In fact, I felt really safe. After all, what would screw with me with bodyguards like them? I'm only guessing that's why they did it, because they were just as likely to run me off for getting too close. But I feel they knew I was bringing food for them and showing my thanks to them for what they gave me. Or I could be dead wrong about the whole thing. Also, Shelby would make me what I would call a dream catcher. Some were round, some square, some would be made up of 2 or 3 sticks hooked together like links in a chain. I still have them and wouldn't take all the gold in the world for any of them. After a few weeks, they had all gotten used to seeing me and wouldn't run and hide when I came around. I still couldn't get too close to them. They keep their distance, but I'd hear them walking around my camp, watching me, staying just beyond the firelight. When I'd walk around at night, I'd feel something hit me in the back or touch my shoulder or arm, sometimes knocking my hat off. When I turned around, nothing would be there. Then it started happening in the daytime, only now I could see who was doing it. It was the little ones playing games. I think the game was to see who could touch me and not get caught. They sneak up from behind, touch me, then turn and run, laughing and hide in the underbrush. Sometimes I'd chase them, but they were too fast and were gone before I took 3 steps. One day, when I was back in town, I was sitting at a traffic light when some bicycle riders stopped next to me. As I was looking at them, I noticed some of them had little mirrors on their helmets to see behind them. I got an idea, so I stopped at a bicycle shop and bought a set. I was going to turn the tables on them little buggers. Well, it seemed like a good plan at the time, but like all good plans, some are doomed to fail. I was sitting in camp, waiting for the little ones to come sneaking around, and I had the mirrors ready. After a little while, I could see a young male coming up behind me. He looked like he was around 9 or 10 years old. When he was about to touch me, I turned around and growled at him. He looked surprised. I guess I scared him really good because he punched me right in the face, knocking me on my butt, My face felt numb and blood was running from my nose and my lip was split and bleeding. I sat there holding my nose, trying not to laugh because it made my lip hurt. He ran off and hid in the underbrush, and I could hear him chattering with excitement. I got up and got a towel, held it to my face, and sat back down. It was funny to me, and I couldn't help feeling like Wile E. Coyote trying to catch the road runner. Everything I did came back in my face, but I think it made it more fun for them because they knew that I could catch them once in a while. The game went on for the rest of the time that I was there, and we had some good times. I really missed the little ones. I wish they'd have trusted me more. I would have loved to get to know each one of them. The only one who come to me was Shelby. Shelby stood about 5'5" when I first met her. She had big brown eyes. Her eyes were a little bigger than her parents were, and her head was smaller compared to the size of the others. Her body was lean, and her hair was short and well groomed. She didn't have the bulky stature of her parents, most likely because of her age. She was shy at first, then quickly took a liking to me. She was well-mannered and passive, almost polite in her demeanor. She was a good kid in my book. I grew very fond of her, and she'd come around a lot and would follow me around. Mom Cora Beth was always keeping an eye on her. It was like taking your kid to the park to play with the other kids, and Mom would sit and keep a watchful eye out for trouble. I was never allowed to be alone with her. Sometimes it made me feel distrusted, but I understood and wasn't offended. Cora Beth was a good mom, and I respected her for that. She was a better mom than some humans. I'd be sitting down on a log, and Shelby would come up from behind, put her arms around me, and give me a hug, resting her cheek next to mine. Sometimes she'd hug me too hard, and I couldn't breathe. I'd have to make her stop before she broke my bones. She was a lot stronger than she looked and would have no trouble beating the hell out of the meanest badass human on this planet. In other words, she'd win hands down any tough man match and make them guys cry for their moms. You just gotta love her. She looked more human than the older ones. In fact, all the young ones looked that way. Maybe just as humans get older and lose their looks, they do the same now that I think about it. They all look their age. Some look really old and move around slower and show signs of old age. I never really thought about it until now. They age just like anything else. Getting back to Shelby, her feet are about the same size as mine, but a little wider. 5 toes, white soles, long toenails. She don't smell as bad as the older ones, and that could be because of the short hair. You can see all of her ears, and they have a fine hair growing on them. Her skin is a lot lighter than her parents' is. It's like a tan, similar in color to someone from the South Pacific. She's very loving and affectionate. If she's sitting next to me, she is touching me in some way, like putting her foot on mine or leaning against me or holding my arm. But when Mom calls, she hits the ground running. Mom only has to call once. I've seen them show affection for one another. They truly care for each other, and they're friends.